get chat running. Alright, so this stream is a bit later than usual because I had a meeting with Nico about his 7-string. He brought over a pickup, we went over some details, and we did a finish test as well. So going with all kinds of different blues here. Tried a different one as well, but that wasn't all that interesting, so we're going to end up going with that. Realizing that I don't have first off, I don't have chat up just yet, and we need more light. So, more light. There we are. All right. How's everybody doing? Why am I getting this password wrong now? There. Another cool thing about the 7-string is it's going to have a sort of candy skull inlay on the first fret. That's pretty sweet. Then I've got printouts of inlay sizes for something else. It's also very cool. Can leave those over there. All right, a little bit of cleanup and we'll get going with finishing up that bass. Gotta get my chat going so I can see any questions that might pop up. All right.
All-inclusive program.
Whoa.
So I feel like I'm probably more well adapted to a cross-lifting stop.
All right. There we go. Let us go to the channel here. There. Sweet. All right. So what we are gonna do is finish up putting this together. Only a few things left to go, and then we'll be all set. Right. Tuners. I had to fix up the nut quite a bit, and that's gonna take some adjusting, getting that in place as well. Need to get me some Allen keys. There. All right. I swear, I'm not usually this disorganized when it comes down to things. It's been a day. Come on. You're the right size. Yep. Oh, that's really tight. Yeah, cool. Okay. So tightening up the knobs here. There. The battery should be just fine. All right. I need to go dig up some questions that I was asked. Or I asked you guys on Instagram to send me some questions, and I got a couple, so I'm going to answer those here. All right. So I got 2 questions from Ironmore Guitars, who was here during the last stream, and the first of which is, what pickups you regularly use? What pickups do I regularly use? Well, it really depends, because up until this point, I haven't had a sort of set preference. It's usually been something that has fit the guitar, but I guess it hasn't been announced yet. I haven't talked about it, but something that is happening and will happen, or something that has pretty much happened, is that I have made a sort of endorsement contract with a Finnish pickup maker, Kangas Pickups, and I'm going to be using his pickups moving forward. I like the idea of, myself being a very small builder in Finland, and him still being a sort of like startup company. Well, startup is kind of, I guess, the wrong word, but he started his company just a little while ago and started making pickups. So I like the idea that I have pickups that are made in Finland, cooperating with somebody and collaborating with somebody who kind of clearly has a similar mentality to a lot of things. And just in general, I am really looking forward to how those pickups are going to sound. And like I've said many times before, I kind of want to keep my stuff as domestic heavy as I can. So the fact that I can have a domestic builder for my pickups as well, or a domestic pickup maker for my guitars, is an added bonus to that. Originally, the first batch of prototypes, they were supposed to have the Seymour Duncan hot rodded pickup set. So that's the JB Jazz and the SH4, if I remember correctly. So they were supposed to have that set, just because I wanted something that everybody's sort of familiar with, so you already know kind of the tones that you will get out of it from the get-go. But now that I got this sort of opportunity to work with somebody for, a longer term moving forward, I could not pass up on the opportunity. Hey Armor, I am just answering your questions, actually. What is up? The second question that you had was to do with straight headstock or angled headstock for a 6-string multiscale. Now, it's a good thing that you're here, Armor, because I need to ask you to clarify that question a bit. Do you mean angled as in angle this way, so sideways angle, or do you mean angled versus a scooped headstock? So basically what I have on the base there, or I can't really dig one out. So basically what I have on the base there, or a scoop like you would get on a Fender. Which one did you mean with your question? The second way, so a scoop or an angle. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Straight headstock is what you mean by scoop. So the Fender style, right? Because the reason I ask is because I actually have a video where I go in depth about multi-scale angled headstock and why you do it, how to design it, and how to get it correct. And that's more to do with because you have a fan going like this, your nut line or your end of the fretboard ends at an angle as well. If you would just have a single angle like you have on here, then you will get a sort of empty space that you need to fill up, which in my opinion looks kind of weird and odd, like it shouldn't be there. So you need to have your angle going this way as well. But if you're now talking about an angle like this, or then a scooped headstock, as if you would have on a, I need to go get a neck. Oh crap. Snapped off a little bit of binding. Need to fix that. Anyway, so a scoop versus an angled headstock when it comes to multi-scale 6 strings. Basically, with an angled headstock like this, like I explained already, roughly, I have a video on this as well, where if you have just a single angle like this, which goes to one point on, because this is now a single line, like so. So of course you have the angle going from that single point onwards. If you have a multi-scale, you have an angle here. So you need to have 2 different starting points for the angle on your headstock. And when you join those 2 angles, you end up getting a headstock that goes like this instead of straight like that. I hope I'm explaining this somewhat clearly enough. But instead of having a flat surface like that you see right here, it would more be like this. I'm making that overly exaggerated. Now, with a scooped headstock, so like this, the quote-unquote Fender style, if you have an angled fretboard, so a multi-scale, basically the only thing that changes is just your scoop goes like that. But otherwise, your headstock is completely the same. You just need to bear in mind that you're going to have a lot more space on this, on the treble side than you are on the bass side. So basically that scoop will just extend, so that then creates the sort of angle that you will get on normally single angled headstock. So basically when it boils down to it, you don't actually see too many scooped headstocks with multi-scale, but to my ear that sounds easier to do than doing the angle. Both are relatively easy if you know what you're doing, but it's just by explaining it, it for some reason sounds like a lot less work. There's a lot less for you to figure out with this kind of headstock. So essentially it just boils down to which one do you like more. The reasons why I use a scooped headstock instead of an angled one is while I mostly, for personal guitars, I would usually always try to score in an angled headstock because I think it is nicer looking and better, and string trees are awful. But on the flip side of things, when I'm personally building guitars, Having a scooped headstock means that I need much less material for a neck because I can just have a single plank of, or a laminated plank, but I can just have 20 mil worth of 20 mil worth of neck thickness, and that already provides me with more than enough to work with. Meanwhile, with an angled headstock, either I do a scarf joint, which I hate and don't want to do, or then I basically end up wasting a lot of wood. Now, the way to get around that, of course, is doing multi-laminates, because I can cut strips, but then those strips are even going straight, and then it has the angle at the end, which ends up with a little bit more waste product. Because I can show you on the Celeste, for example, like right here, this is just one plank of wood. Disregard the fretboard on here. But now when I start processing this down, this thickness doesn't change. Instead, my scoop for the headstock goes here, and then I carve around on the other side. I don't need to do anything more than that. With an angled headstock, I had to cut this into slivers like that. Now I'm already getting that much waste wood that I can't really use for anything because it's so small. Then trying to fit another one and another one up until I get to about 60 mil for a 6-string to work with. To me, it just feels a bit more wasteful. Okay, so let's see, how does the nut sit in place? It's pretty alright. I am gonna just sand down the corners of this nut a little bit, as they are sticking out. There's one thing that I always feel is very important, especially as a craftsman, or a luthier I should say, is that a well-shaped nut really goes a long way to show the level that a luthier would go to make a the level, oh god, I can't speak today. This is why I shouldn't do streams later on in the day. It don't make any more sense. If the nut is shaped well so that it doesn't have sharp corners and it feels nice to your hand when you're playing, that you don't hit yourself on it, then to me that feels like the luthier has put in time and effort into the instrument. So if already the nut is nice, then it's a sure mark that the rest of the parts are quality parts as well. If the nut is just something that the guitar builder has slopped on, it's very sharp and it just looks like whatever you would find on the shelf, which usually isn't the most comfortable, then I would start being a bit wary on how the playability will feel and if there's going to be other detriments to the instrument's quality. Alright, I'm just going to put a couple of drops of super glue. Don't need any more than that to put a nut in place. There we go. I am going to move the camera a little bit because now I need to put in the tuners, so you actually need to see me. There. Well, that's pretty loose. Tighten that up. Look at that. So satisfying to see this base come together. It's been a bit too long in the making from my own point of view. But with COVID and everything shutting down workshops and just, I've had much less time to work on things than I would like. So it's nice to get this done and back to the client. There you go. There we go. That's really loose fitting. Wonder if that's feeling okay over there. I don't think the tuner post is supposed to do that. But it's not coming out either, so I guess it's okay. Wait until you guys see what strings are going on this. I'm crazy. Alright, line up all the holes. Wasn't that far off. Thank you, Armor. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. All things considered. And when I say all things considered, I'm talking about the fact that having to do the refinishing on my balcony, having to do the sanding on my balcony, and it being the dead of winter, which also affects things somewhat. I do need to show you guys the control cavity. I put it together. Well, I wired everything up yesterday, and the clutter of wires in bases always gets me a little anxious. So I did away with that with a little bit of cable management, so to speak. So that's quite a bit of zip tie. Well, not quite a bit. And a good amount of, the right amount of zip ties, I should say. Just holding everything in place so when you're playing, nothing rattles around. It's just one of those things where it's like the extra level of detail does actually go a long way. I have a feeling though that the strings I'm going to put on this are going to be a lot heavier gauge than what the nut is made for. So I might have to do some adjustment on the nut. So I'm going to take a half cut pencil, and I'm just going to see that I do have room to adjust, which is good, which is kind of what I hoped that I would have. The very last thing to go on any instrument is the back plate, because 9 times out of 10, you put on the back plate, you test the electronics, something's gone wrong, and you take the back plate off. So leave that for the very, very last bit. But these are gonna be cool. So what we have here are, because it's a matte black base with black hardware, ebony fretboard, why not have a black string or have black strings on it as well? First, very, very first thing I'm going to do is roll back the saddle a little bit. Now they're pretty far away. So rolling back the saddles just to prepare this for intonating. There. All right. Yep. Magnets on back plates is also something that I am very interested in doing, because, well, if you ever need to get access to your controls, the magnets are a hell of a lot easier than trying to take screws off every time. All right. This base is ridiculous. In a very good way. I'm already noticing that, yes, I do need to adjust the nut a little bit just to get the action correct, and action right and set up, but it is a hell of a lot better than what it was previously. So before I took everything apart, took the fretboard off and everything else, this bass had some serious issues. The truss rod, the end of the truss rod was completely shot and completely round, so you couldn't actually adjust it. The action higher up on the frets was like that high. The neck was bowed except for from the 3rd fret down, which was going the other way. That shouldn't be possible, but it was, and it was, yeah, it was virtually unplayable. So now seeing that the strings are already sitting a good bit lower down makes me feel a lot better. Granted, the final bit will be when we get the nut adjusted properly.
Come on, how sick does this look? Black on black on black on black. This is ridiculous.
I'm just gonna show you a little bit. Check that out. Yeah.
With bass strings, I usually cut them so that, for instance, like here, I have the string will go in here, so I cut the string at the next tuning peg. So let's say, yeah, about an inch extra. These are DR Black Beauties. And we actually had a discussion about colored strings with some other luthiers. We were trying to figure out what other brands do colored strings, and we couldn't think of anybody else except for DR. We know that there's some, but couldn't come to think of any others then and there. But these are pretty badass. I think next up would be a good thing to test the electronics, make sure that they work. And then it's just about set up. That sounds pretty sick. All right, give me a sec. Oh, yeah, right. I don't have anything. All right, just a sec. One thing I do not have is an amplifier. I do have digital ones. I use digital plugins for most of the things that I do, but I do not have an actual honest to goodness amplifier. Yes, I know, shame on me, but I live in an apartment building, so honestly, having a nymph would be somewhat of a detriment over here. Now I'm trying to find an adapter for a plug. Do not remember where I have them, which is problematic, to say the very least. Oh boy, it doesn't seem to be anywhere logical, which is even more frustrating. Because I used to have quite a lot of these. Now I can't find any. So testing pickups is going to be interesting if I can't find a lead to plug in. Sorry guys. I'm working on it. I am working on it. But to no avail. Is this active? This might work. Alright, cool. Alright. Oh, bye RMR. See you next stream. No problem. I like answering people's questions. That's kind of what I do. So, I do check out, I am following your page, RMR, so I do see the stuff you put out, and I love what you do. Keep at it. Seriously. Oh. You guys can't see me. But yeah. Shout out to Iomar Guitars from Ecuador. He's got some really cool stuff, and you guys should definitely go and give him a follow. Don't know if he has other social media pages as well, but at least on Instagram, that's where I follow his stuff, and you should go check out what he has. His designs are pretty cool, in my opinion. All right, so doing that, plugging this in.
It's not tuned at all, but I just wanted to check whether we can get some sounds out of it, and we can. And good news is that it actually plays, which was something that it didn't do previously. All right, so sorry for abusing your eardrums like so, but yeah. The only things to go now are setup, intonation, and oh, I should say nut adjustment, setup, and setup includes intonation. All right, I am gonna tension this up and finish it off soon. But now I know that the electronics work, so I'm gonna put back the covers. I'm not gonna put the truss rod cover in just yet because I want to have that available if I need to adjust anything while doing setup. But yeah, because I started this much later than originally intended, it is much later than I usually stream for. I am starving. I'm gonna go eat some pizza. So I'm gonna end this stream right here. Thank you guys very much for watching. This has been a lot of fun, and this bass is also a lot of fun. So, bye guys. See you next time. Bye.